My name is Cliff Lanham. I am the Mobile Launcher Project Manager for NASA here at Kennedy Space Center. I've been working for Kennedy for 8 years now. Recently, about a year and a half ago, became the Project Manager for the Mobile Launcher and have been working that job ever since. I started out after college working for Orbital Sciences up at Greenbelt, Maryland at Goddard Space Flight Center. And I worked on the Hubble servicing missions for many years. And I worked on a few space station projects before coming to Kennedy as a contractor with ASRC Aerospace. And in 2009, I was able to join NASA and work for Ground Systems and Development and Operations Program. And at which point, working through several different jobs with them, I ultimately have ended up as the project manager for the mobile launcher. The mobile launcher is used to stack the vehicle. So the vehicle will be stacked on the mobile launcher for launch. As part of the stacking process, there are mechanicals, basically it sits on vehicle support posts that support the boosters, and then you stack the vehicle up. The umbilicals are then attached, and the umbilicals provide all your pneumatic services, comm, electrical connections, ECS or environmental control purges to the vehicle. All in an attempt to be able to communicate with the vehicle and also keep the vehicle safe. So that's kind of the general idea of what the mobile launcher does. So what essentially happens is the crawler transporter picks up the mobile launcher and will carry it into the VAB, into High Bay 3, where the 10 platforms are located. We'll put once inside the VAB, then the vehicle will get stacked. Now the crawler is still remaining underneath. It could remain underneath, or it can be pulled out. And actually, so let me start that back. So the crawler will be removed, and then there's support posts that will actually hold the mobile launcher. So the mobile launcher is now set inside the VAB with the platforms, and now you'll stack the rocket inside the VAB. You'll do your test and check out in the VAB, and then ultimately you'll bring the crawler back in. The crawler will pick up the mobile launcher with the rocket this time and transport it out to the pad. Once at the pad, we'll continue to test. We'll do some further checkout of the vehicle, and then ultimately, you get into the launch countdown. You'll fuel the rocket through the mobile launcher, and ultimately launch with the mobile launcher. Now, once the launch is complete, the teams will come in and do maintenance to the mobile launcher, and then the crawler will come back out, pick up the mobile launcher, bring it back to the VAB, and you start the whole process over again. The mobile launcher is designed pretty much uniquely to support the SLS and Orion Block 1 vehicle. Ultimately, the idea is for EM2, we'll go to a Block 1B vehicle, which will mean the vehicle will get 40 to 60 feet longer, taller, if you will, and which means we've got to modify the mobile launcher ultimately to be able to handle that larger vehicle, which will mean additional umbilicals, additional cables, pneumatic services, and there's really not a multiple user aspect right now to the mobile launcher. Hopefully what will happen is the old shuttle MLPs, mobile launch platforms, will potentially be used by another company to develop their own capability to launch rockets from an MLP. But as of right now, the mobile launcher is primarily designed and built for the SLS. And the VAB has the 10 adjustable platforms, and what they can do is they have inserts that can adjust to the mold line of a vehicle. So potentially, and also the platforms can be moved up and down as to where they're installed in the VAB structure. So they could potentially be used for other vehicles. So if we start at the top of the vehicle, you got the Orion service module umbilical, which provides ECS, coolant, comm, electrical connections to Orion, the service module. And that's all the way at the top, around the 260-foot level or so of the mobile launcher. Then coming down the vehicle, you come to the interim cryopropulsion stage umbilical, which is a large, very large umbilical that is similar to what United Launch Alliance uses for their Delta IV second stage umbilical, and that's actually what SLS will be using. That provides your propellants and again your ECS purges, your pneumatics, electrical connections, comm connections to the second stage of the vehicle. As we continue down the vehicle, you come to the core stage forward skirt umbilical, which will provide basically an ECS purge, environmental control purge, to the forward section of the core stage cavity, internal cavity. And then again, you have different other connections, but that's the primary purpose. Coming down below that, around the 200-foot level, will be the vehicle stabilizer. That is primarily a structural attach point to the vehicle for rollout and when we're sitting at the pad for wind loads, those types of things to keep the vehicle stabilized. So they are all T0 purges. So as we continue down, you come to the core stage intertank umbilical, which will provide a hydrogen vent purge from the core stage, and as well as other purges and data and comm connections. So that's also a T0 umbilical. And then when you get down to the bottom part of the vehicle, on the deck of the mobile launcher, you have the tail service mast umbilicals. There's two of those. One is for the LH2 fuel, and then one is for the LO2 oxidizer that will be used to fuel the vehicle prior to launch, as well as your data connections, pneumatics connections. Part of that also is a crew access arm. So there's a crew access arm, not necessarily, it's for access, on EM1 it'll access the Orion because there's some hardware inside Orion that we got to get to, but ultimately for like EM2, that'll be actually where the crew will ingress to the vehicle, and it also provides a escape route, if any emergencies occur. But a T0 umbilical basically is an umbilical that releases at launch. Basically at the 0 second of launch, it's releasing from the vehicle and allowing it to lift off.